All right, well let's get into it. So you have a chess background.
Yes,
Well, tell me
that is
about
correct.
that. You have actually quite the amount of prowess in that regard, right?
Well, I'm an international master.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
I uh, I represented Canada in four chess Olympiads.
Wow.
Uh, they had in 1988 through they held them every 2 years. So 88, 90, 92, and 94.
So
Uh,
cool.
it's chess is like poker though. It's really, I mean, no offense to any old guys out there, but it is really a young person's game.
Hmm.
Most of the best players in the world are in their 20s and 30s,
Hmm.
and I suspect it's probably going to be the same for poker players.
Hmm.
Like it's just a question of endurance, what
Sure.
have you. I can still play, but I cannot compete with 25-year-olds. Like game after game,
Hmm.
they will eventually grind me down.
That's it's interesting because you see that at the World Series a lot. You see like a lot of good competition, but those guys who are getting older, you see them starting to drop off as it gets into day 6 and 7, and
Sure.
it does
Yeah,
make
and
sense.
like
Yeah.
chess tournaments are the same, like, right? Like a
Hmm.
serious chess tournament could be anywhere from, well, like in the United States, for example, most of the bigger tournaments are like 5 days.
Five
By
days.
the
Wow.
yeah, so 5 days of like playing maybe say 8 to 10 hours per day.
Oh,
So it's a
jeez.
lot like a poker tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
I mean they play 2 rounds per day. Used to be we only played 1 round per day.
Hmm.
So the tournaments were longer, but you had more time to rest.
Yeah.
But
Wow. That's wild. Huh. And then you're coaching right now, right? You got a bunch of
that's
students.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that pretty fun at this point, just to like kind of get the next generation going? And
It's a lot of fun, and many of my students, I would say one of them is clearly better than me. Like
oh
one of
wow,
my former students, clearly better than me, and there are a
wow.
couple ones that were probably better than me
Hmm.
uh, at the moment, and that's really fun.
Yeah, that's
When
really
they
cool.
start, because then I start learning stuff from them.
Yeah.
Right? They know lots of stuff I don't know. They'll give me tips on how to improve my play,
Hmm. Very
and
cool.
especially with dealing with stuff like computers.
Yeah.
It's like getting your kid. When you get kids that are helping you with your cell phone or something, same kind of idea.
That's awesome. It has to be pretty rewarding to bring somebody up to a point where they're then passing you, and you're like, oh
Right.
man, I brought them. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, for
Very
sure.
cool. So then, how did you get into poker from chess?
Uh, well, I grew up in Vancouver, Canada,
Okay.
and most of my friends were chess players. And when we weren't playing chess, we were playing other games. And somebody knew how to play poker back then. We started out playing five card draw,
Mm-hmm.
jacks or better,
Okay.
and then eventually a couple of the guys they went to there were like these social clubs in Vancouver,
Mm-hmm.
and the social clubs had poker in them.
Hmm.
So as teenagers, we'd go there and play. But mostly it was 7 card stud. A
Oh
couple
yeah.
of those guys actually became professional poker players,
Oh really?
and yeah, and this would have been in the mid '80s,
Hmm.
and it was all limit. It was mostly 7 stud. I never even heard of Hold'em until I went to visit a friend in California in about '93.
Hmm.
I think it would have been about '93.
The I'm curious how it seems like your mind for chess translates well to poker, where you seem very analytical and really breaking down every spot and decision, going, okay, is that actually the best? And would you say there's a lot that translates? I know it's pretty common to see chess and poker overlap with each other.
I do think that if you're, yeah, I think for a chess player, um, most people have, I would say like maybe half to 2/3 of people have internal dialogues with themselves or a monologue with themselves,
Yeah,
and I would say all good chess players must have that,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
so while I'm playing, I'm like, okay, do I feel like I'm still paying attention? Do I feel like I'm still making good decisions? Am I getting emotional?
Mm,
And if I feel any of those things, I know from chess, it's like it's time to get up and go away.
sure. Yeah,
Right? Go
yeah,
for a walk,
absolutely.
or if that's not going to do it, get up and leave. Come back tomorrow.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So there's a lot of that. I mean, you can get tilted in chess just like you can in poker, but
Hmm,
I would say it's a lot easier to get tilted in poker than it is in chess,
for
right?
sure.
Because you can do something that's, like the guy hits runner runner and he makes whatever a straight,
Yeah,
and your set gets cracked or your two pair gets cracked, and you're like, what an idiot this guy is,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But it was like, okay, but I mean, he's allowed to play his cards any way he wants, and if he didn't play them poorly, you wouldn't make money.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
you sort of have to take a long-term approach, I think.
I think one of the things too is it feels like to me, again, not a talented chess player, but I've played. It feels to me like when I make a mistake in chess, it's obvious. It's a blatant error, and I go, wow, that really cost me. Right. Whereas in poker, sometimes I'm making an egregious error, and it's not always so easy to see, especially early on. Even still, it happens, but there's times where I make an error, and it is a pretty big one, but it doesn't seem like it at the time. And then as you go back and analyze it, you go, wow, that was so much worse than I thought. But it doesn't stand out in the same way. Does that seem right to you?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, you're facing multiple people at the same time, right? So let's say I'm thinking, okay, let's say I've got, the player to my direct left. Let's say I've got a really good beat on him, and maybe a couple other players I've got good beats on. But the guys to my right, like this guy just sat down, or this other dude, like it's hard to tell. Also, I would assume that there's a lot of people in poker who, their appearance might not match their, in chess we try to, stereotyping is bad. I will throw out the PC. Stereotyping is bad. But I mean, if you're playing against if I'm playing a 15-year-old Asian kid, or I'm playing a 73-year-old Eastern European, right? I'm going to approach these two guys differently.
Absolutely.
And I would assume that they're going to do the same thing in poker, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the stereotypes are probably a little more accurate in chess because people are not really trying to deceive each other in the same way.
Oh yeah, interesting. Right.
Yeah. So, so I would say I would put it that way. Let's just say. So yeah, but it's very hard to deal with 8 other people at the same time, and a cast of characters that's constantly changing. Seat 5 gets up, goes away, a new person comes down. Okay, all the reads I had on seat 5 are now useless until the next time I have to meet that person, and they will be a different person the next time I meet them, right?
Yeah.
They'll have more experiences, for good or bad. Our situations will have changed. Maybe they were losing, now they're winning. Maybe I'm losing, next time I might be winning, or the other way around. It's a lot harder to quantify.
Yeah, I agree. Such a fluid game, and it has so many. We can try to set hard and fast rules, and they just don't hold in poker. I mean, there's some things, but there's so many spots where you're like, obviously you would do this. Well, it's situational. It's situational here. I can make a big raise against this opponent, but against that opponent, he's going to respond this way, so I need to. I mean, there's just so many factors that go into it. Your stack size, the pot size, their tendencies, your cards, their cards, your ranges. I mean, whew. Yeah, there's a lot to think about. So
sure.
Yeah.
Or did the guy have a fight with his wife earlier?
Yeah.
Is he steamed because his boss called him a name? Or who knows, right?
Yeah, such a good point.
So many factors that would go into the normally milquetoast individual is suddenly is acting in a way that's different than what you're used to. Yeah. That has nothing to do with what's happening at the table.
Right. That's a really good point. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Well, I had a hand plan to share with you, but I played last night, and I've got to talk about this one instead. So it's
I will get my pencil.
Okay, it's a little bit shorter, but so I have 10 8 of clubs. The game. So let me back up. The game's been. People are playing fairly loose. They're liking to call when there's an open, so I've been raising a little bit on the bigger side, going like to 5 or 6x. And I get 10 8 of clubs in the. I wrote down the hijack. I believe that's correct. And there's one limp, so I make it 30 pre-flop. And unfortunately, we go 4 ways to a flop, so not ideal. But
so wait a minute. So 4 ways. So the limper calls.
Yep.
Small and big blinds.
We're playing 3-5. Man, I didn't back up far enough. We're playing 3-5, and let's see. My stack here is $600.
Okay, 600. Yep.
So I've been getting beat up all night, and I think at this point I think I have like 500 left to rebuy with. I've already bought in for 1,500, and I haven't won. I think we're 3 hours in at this point, and I haven't won a hand yet. So, not a great night. But
Okay.
so we go 4 ways, and pot's about $120. The flop is Queen of Hearts, 4 of Clubs, 2 of Clubs, and
Hearts,
it
four of clubs, two of clubs.
checks around to me.
Okay, so I just want to verify I got this straight. So we
Yep.
have a small blind, a big blind, a limper,
Mm-hmm.
and you. Okay, so 3 people check to you.
Yep,
Okay. All right. And you got 10-8 of clubs.
that
and
is
the
correct.
flop is Queen of Hearts, 4 clubs, 2 clubs.
That is correct. Yep.
So you got a flush draw and, I guess, backdoor straight draw.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So not a super advantageous flop. I mean, it's good that we have the clubs, but I'm not planning to bet this. I'm 4 ways. People aren't. I'm not going to get 3 folds, especially with the table, and so I end up checking back. Do you like that? You comfortable with that, or would you play it different?
Okay. So you have 600.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you have 570, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you make your flush.
I don't have it yet. I have a flush draw.
No. But if you do make it, can we get all the money in by the river?
Yeah, I mean, we may have some difficulty if it comes on the river and not on the turn. But I think I'm okay taking a free card here. Only because, I mean, I can grow the pot, but then I'm potentially growing a pot I'm not going to win. Because I don't think I'm getting 3 folds.
So, okay, so let's say, hypothetically speaking, okay, so what kind of hands are people going to call you with? So if somebody has, like, pocket 5s, are they going to call you?
Yeah, probably not.
They won't call you here.
I mean, I'm not sure. If I'm going to bet on this, I'm probably betting $70, I would think. Maybe, yeah, probably around $70. Gonna go a little over half pot and build the pot, set it up, but then I just don't think I'm getting enough folds. I don't think I should be going huge and like betting pot or anything here.
No, I would agree with that.
So,
but I'm just trying to think. Okay, what are we trying to? Okay, so
like I think a queen will call us pretty easily.
For sure.
I don't think we're worried about any like real premium hands. So yeah, we're looking at some maybe weird straight draws like a 5-6 that's got a gutter ball. I don't know. But yeah, maybe some of the pocket pairs like maybe 5s would call. It's possible they would. This game's been pretty sticky, so yeah, maybe they do.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I would say definitely don't bet. Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying they. I guess my gut says, well, they shouldn't call too often with pocket 5s, but this game has been very sticky, so it's possible they do.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, if everybody folds out everything that's worse than a queen, then you probably should bet, right? But if people are calling you with like pocket 7s and 5-4 and gut shots and what have you, 2 overcard. Well, I guess I wouldn't have 2 overcards, but let's say 1 overcard. Then I guess you should. You should not bet. Okay. So you choose to check.
Yeah, I choose to check, and I think like just on the way the game's been playing, lots of money moving around. People are paying off, and they're just not folding that much. Which, in retrospect, looking back, even the 10-8 of clubs, like I'm hoping to get heads up when I bet 30 pre-flop, but against the limper, but having everybody call, it just kind of, I don't know.
So would you have bet any flush draw here that wasn't a pair?
Would I have bet any if we were heads up? You mean?
No. 4 ways. Would you bet any flush draw here?
If I have the nut flush draw, I think I'm willing to bet small. But again, like they're willing to call, and I just want to get the money in. I just want to get the money in good. So I don't know that I do at all. Even with the ace high, I don't know that I do because, well, I don't know. I think with the ace high, I might do it, but outside of that, without maybe I guess the queen combos, I have a pair as well. So then I definitely
right. So yeah, I mean like unpaired.
Unpaired. With an ace, I probably am going to bet small and set up the potential to get it all in by the river pretty easily. But with the 10-8 of clubs, I think I'm okay taking a free card, knowing that people can check with all kinds of stuff, and they're going to call with better, and not be folding out hands that maybe they should not be hanging around with. So, all right. So then the turn it checks through. Turn comes down the 6 of clubs. So we make clubs, and the small blind now leads out for $65. There's
into the field.
Into the field, and there's a call. The limper calls.
Wow.
So now it's back on me.
So you call?
I actually raised here. I want to get all the money in. My plan is to get all the money in here. We have a flush. I know he leads into me, but I think you can do this with like you can do it with like an ace of clubs and a deuce 4 or 6. I think you can do it with. I mean, who knows? These guys have been pretty active. They could have 3-5. It seems very, very unlikely, but they could. And I think like even like the king high, maybe if they should have bet the queen of clubs. I don't know, but I feel like there's going to be a flush there some of the time, but I feel like I should be going for it. And the caller, okay, so the person who calls, the guy who limps and then calls, has been in there with almost anything. He's been calling all the way down with like third pair and fourth pair and like gut shots and all kinds of stuff. So I'm not worried about him, but I am concerned about the small blind. He's a fairly competent player. So I did debate just calling, but I think this hand wants to raise because for every time that we see like ace of clubs or king of clubs do this,
right,
we don't really want to give them a shot at that last card, right? That was my thought anyway. And I don't know. I think you can also lead out on this with even like with a set. I think it's possible if he has like a set of 6s and hit it, or even tried to slow play like 4s or deuces or something. So I don't know. It's a. Do you dislike the raise? Do you think it's a bad raise there?
Well, now that you gave me more information about the caller, I mean, if you don't think the caller is very serious, then I like it a lot better.
Okay.
I mean, it's somewhat worrisome, right, that a guy bets into 3 people.
It is.
Definitely. I would agree that. I mean, what do I think he most likely has? He could have any of the sets except for the queens. I guess he could have some 2-pair, right? He could have 6-4.
Sure.
He could have a worse. He could have a worse flush, I suppose. Although there's not too many of them, right?
Right. There really aren't, but it is possible.
7-5 or 9.
Yeah.
7.
Yep.
And that's about it, right?
Yep.
And then, like you said, the caller, I guess he could have a big club. Or maybe he has... What else could he have?
I mean, the guy who called, the guy who leads, I think, is pretty capable. He can have, like, just a naked ace. He can have the ace of clubs, king of clubs, something like that. He can also have... I mean, he can have just something like jack 10 of clubs, and we'd be... Or not 10, but, like, jack 9 of clubs or something, and we'd be behind. So that wouldn't be ideal, but I think when I raise, I'm expecting him to call and not do much more most of the time, unless he has like the, if he has it, I think I'm going to find out about it, right? So, whereas if I and I'd like to get the money in if he calls and then checks to me, I think I can go for it because I think he's got some sets and I think he's got some 2 pairs and I think he will have clubs, but not all the time. And I think I even have the option to check back river if I'm feeling like, man, I'm pretty confident he's got me or something. So
if you raise here,
yeah,
and he re-raises you,
yeah,
are you going with the hand?
Well, that's the key question in this hand because he does re-raise me.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well,
And
this would be the thing that I'd be kind of worried about, right? Because if you think he's capable of doing this with an ace, the ace of clubs, then I guess you have to call him if he jams on you, right? Assuming that the other guy doesn't call.
right.
Because if the other guy calls, then he must have a hand, right?
Right,
He can't just have garbage, unless he's a complete maniac. But unless he has like, it would be terrible if he jammed with say the ace of clubs, the other guy has set called, and then you folded, and then that would be terrible. It was a brick on the river, but.
So that guy, the limper, does end up folding, which I'm not surprised. Like I know he's got some weak holdings when he calls, and so he's probably not sticking around. When he had it, he was raising, so I felt confident we were beating him.
So let me ask you a hypothetical question.
Yep.
So if you had just called.
Yep.
Okay. And let's say the river is a blank of some kind, and the guy bets. Do you expect the guy in the middle, the guy that's kind of bad, do you think he'll call any reasonable bet?
Yep.
Because maybe you can get some free money.
Okay, that's a good point.
I mean, depends how. I mean, this looks pretty strong. So
it does.
So
it looks really
no
strong.
matter how bad this guy is, he's not going to just think like, oh, okay, these two guys are a couple of maniacs that are just trying to kick me out of the pot and steal my $30 or however much money, 30 plus his second call.
Yeah, so, I don't know that if it goes. I don't know if we both call and the bet on the river, like let's say then the small blind leads for like $100. I think he's calling with like any queen. I think I don't know. This guy has been showing all kinds of stuff. When he has the nuts, he's raising and he's making it very obvious that he has it. So maybe he has like queen jack or something like that, right? Like I don't know. I think the danger of not raising there is that we allow the pot to stay the same size. Small blind misses with like a ace of clubs, checks, I bet, and they both fold. And now we don't get any more value. Whereas if we raise here and they have, say, ace of clubs or they have king of clubs or something like that, I think we can get value from them here, or a set or something like that. And then, depending on what the river is, we can decide what we want to do. I think they're going to check to us most of the time. So we kind of control our fate there a little bit more, and we get the money in while we feel like we're probably good. So,
gotcha.
But so now it doesn't work that way. I guess my thought is like, this is my thought too. If he has me beat, and I bet here, if he raises me, I feel like I know where I'm at. Whereas if it gets to me, if he bets now on the, like, I just call and then he puts like a $300 bet out there on the river. Now
have to call him.
Now I need to call him.
Right.
And so I'm going to try to get the money in anyway. I might as well take the opportunity to get ahead, be aggressive, and get the money in against potentially hands that are drawing or behind. Whereas on the river, when they bet, now I'm just guessing if I'm good or not. And so I don't really like that as much. I don't know. What do you think? Is that terrible?
Well, I don't know. Like, okay, if you were in your opponent's shoes, and somebody did this to you, what is the worst hand you think they have?
When they raise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have a flush for sure.
Right. Okay, so I guess the question is how many flushes? Well, I mean, if you think he's capable of doing this with, well, I don't know if he'd be. I mean, I don't know this player. You say he's potentially capable of doing this with even just the king of clubs?
I mean, maybe not the king of clubs. Maybe that's a little out of line. But the ace of clubs, I think he definitely can.
Okay.
So he's very competent opponent, plays well, puts pressure on people from time to time. But a lot of times, this pressure is value, right? He's hit his hand and he's going for value. So.
And what does he think of you?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I would.
He's never said anything to you. I get opponents telling me things about me all the time. Usually that I'm a nit, and that why am I not playing any hands? But it could be a variety of different things, I suppose.
No, he's never like commented on my game necessarily, but
Okay.
I would say like it's he's not a guy that I'm like looking to tangle. You know, like I'm not trying to target and play hands with him. But the way he's played it up to this point, I'm just trying to think like how often is he gonna have the nuts here? Like it's pretty hard to imagine that he does until he takes that line to re-raise me, and then now I'm just thinking like he's got to be aware. So let's see. I need to put this back together in my mind, but so 120, so 250. I made it 250. He's giving me, and so the pot is about 500.
Okay.
He re-raises to 550. So he puts in about another 500. So he's giving me 2-1, and he knows that I've got the rest of my stack. I just feel like the way he set it up, it's like, oh, it's perfect for him to call here. It feels like value to me, and like I'm just going to be crushed if I call. What do you think? Am I?
Well, I do think it's kind of weird. Okay, so if we could just go back one street.
Yep.
Okay, so you didn't want to bet your 10-8 of clubs because you know that people, like on the flop, you don't want to bet your 10-8 of clubs because you know that people are going to call you.
They're very sticky, yep.
Okay. So if he's betting into 3 people with, let's say, ace of clubs, whatever, 5 of diamonds.
Sure.
Let's say.
Yeah.
So I guess he's probably not that wide, right? But okay, so let's say.
No, I think that's reasonable. He was in the small blind, and he's got a straight draw and a nut club draw. I mean.
No, but I mean pre-flop though.
Yeah, it's pretty loose. It is pretty loose.
Oh, it's pretty loose. Okay, so is he really going to bet into 3 people with the ace of clubs? Wouldn't the same thing be true for him as is true for you? Like if they're not folding to you when you bet the 10-8, why are all of you folding to him when he's in first position betting? Like at least you have information. You've got 3 people checking. He has. Yeah. Okay, he has 3 people checking, but now there's a new round of betting with new information, right? There's a new card that arrived.
Yeah.
So I would not really expect an opponent, unless they were kind of maniacal, to be betting a lone ace of clubs into the field.
Probably not too often.
And so I probably would not raise them, but okay.
But
I mean, if you think he's kind of maniacal, then I guess you have to call him. But I don't think I would have. Well, I don't think I would have. I think I would have bet the flop, and I think I would just call the turn personally.
Okay.
But the pot would be bigger, so I don't know. Maybe his bet would be bigger. I mean, you could still get all the money in by the river, I suppose.
If I just call.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Let's say he has like a set of 4s here. He's betting half pot on the turn.
Right.
So I mean, I think he can have sets. I think he can have some 2 pairs, and I think he's capable of doing it with an ace of clubs. But yeah, he is betting into multiple people. I think the fact that no one showed interest on the flop gives him room to maneuver a little bit. But yeah, I don't know if I'd call it maniacal, but yeah, it is a little bit. It would be pretty loose to lead the ace there. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a flush a fair amount of the time, but I think we want. I don't know. Maybe I don't like that raise, but
couldn't we wait to see the river, see what the river is, and then see what he does? I mean, you have position, right? You can make the pot as big as you want if you, right? Like let's say the river's a blank. Well, let's say the river's a blank. Okay, and he makes a bet. You can decide at that point if you're going to call him or raise him all in, or, well, you're probably not folding, but you call him or raise him. If it's, say, a deuce, and he looks pretty excited, then you're probably not raising him, right?
Sure. Sure.
If he bets.
I guess my thought is like, I think he can have a set some of the time. I think he can have. I don't know how often he has an ace, but I think he has it some of the time. And so I'm willing to take the pot down. I think that's fine if I just take it down here. But if I get called by worse, now I have the decision on the river, depending on what shows up, if I want to put the rest of the stack in or not, because I have position, and I would expect them just to check and give me the opportunity to take the betting lead. Or, like to make a decision about the river bet based on the action. That's my thought process. Whereas if I just call and it goes like I guess I don't know that I like without the pressure. If he just bets, am I planning to check raise then, or am I not check raise, but am I planning to raise his bet on the river, or am I just calling his river bet? Like, let's say he now bets like 120 on the river. Are you just calling the river bet?
So let's assume that so you're saying if the river's a blank.
Yeah.
So let's say the river is a 7 of diamonds.
Sure.
Well, I guess that would count as a blank. Okay,
nine of diamonds. Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So he bets. Okay, and is the middle guy folding?
I don't know, but I'm never concerned about his action
you're not going to concern with him. Well, I would say if the middle guy is calling, then I guess I would call. Because I guess he could be trapping him, but that doesn't sound likely. Yeah. Would I raise? I don't know. You really under-repped your hand at that point, right? All you've done is called.
For sure. So then we're going to kind of put the money in anyway, but with less information, right?
I guess that's true. Although you're keeping his range wider this way.
That's fair.
Right?
But now, okay, so then let me ask you this though: if we just call the turn and a club shows up on the river and he bets,
well, that's horrible.
You're right, and now we just have to fold, right?
You probably have to fold.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas I think raising on the turn and getting the money in, if the club shows up, it shows up, and we're kind of skunked. But at least I would think, unless they have the ace, we're going to see them check it to me. If they don't have the nuts, because I took the betting lead. Whereas if we do it this way and a club shows up and they bet, now I'm in a pretty miserable position.
But how did they know you don't have the ace of clubs?
Well, that's what I'm saying. When I raise, I would expect them to give me
but
credit.
I'm saying, like, even if nothing happens, let's say on the turn nothing happens, right?
Sure.
You just call, and then the river's a club.
Sure.
How does your opponent, unless he has the ace of clubs, how does he know that you don't have the ace of clubs?
Yeah, fair enough. He might check it to me, and I check back at that point. But now I'm still losing, right, against a king, queen, jack. Probably not a queen very often based on the action, but an ace, king, or a jack. Like I'm.
Okay, but is your opponent really, like, let's say he has Jack 10 with the jack of clubs? Is he really betting to 3 people with Jack 10 and the jack of clubs on the turn?
No, I'm thinking the guy calling in between can have that kind of garbage.
Oh, I see. Oh,
so okay. I can end up losing to him because I didn't raise the turn.
Right. Oh, that would be gross.
Yeah, exactly. So his money in my mind is dead money because he didn't raise, and every time he's had the nuts, he's raised. So his money in my mind is it's a bad top pair or a club draw or something like that. So I think if we allow him to see a river and a club shows up, I think we're going to lose pretty often.
I see.
To a better club.
I hadn't really thought of that. That's a good point.
So I think that's why I like the raise on the turn. We're getting the money in. We can kind of set it up and determine what we're doing on the river. And I'm only expecting a raise from the nut flush, really. Wouldn't you think? I mean, if you lead into a field and then you get raised again by the pre-flop raiser who has more of the aces in his range,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm the small blind, even if I have a medium flush, I'm assuming that guy probably has me beat, and
Okay.
I might even be folding my, say, jack high, to that raise, because what else is he going to have? Um, I don't know.
That's interesting. Okay.
What do you think?
Oh, wow. Okay, so this guy in the middle does really. Okay, because, I mean, like, what does he have? Right? Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe he has a club that's not an ace, but that's better than your 10. So it's a jack. I
Yeah,
guess,
like,
and probably not a queen, right?
well, I mean, he could have like
Queen 10,
queen of
like queen of
diamonds
clubs.
and, yeah, jack of clubs or something like that,
Oh, I see.
where
Okay,
he had a
sure.
queen on the flop, chose to check because it wasn't a good one, and but now he's sticking around because he's got a
Right.
pair.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Okay, you're starting to convince me that what you did is better.
I I don't think it's an easy spot. That's why I wanted to ask
Yeah.
you your thoughts on it, because I didn't, after the hand was over. Obviously, I'll tell you how it plays out. I didn't
Right.
feel
Right.
good about it, but so he raises to 550, and I'm just thinking, like, what in the world is he ever raising me with that I'm beating? And I would say nothing.
But you so underrepped your hand, though, right? I mean, up to this point, it does look like you have. I mean, to me, it would look like you have the either turned a set of sixes, or you have some kind of flush. But I mean, I guess it could be. I guess you could have almost any flush, right?
Right, and he's choosing to raise into that
That's true.
potential. So to
That's a
me,
good point.
I don't know if it's an under rep. I mean, it makes sense that I might check back with clubs on the flop with that many opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Two people bet into me, and now I'm raising. I mean, I feel like my hand's pretty face up. I'm not
Okay.
expecting to get raised ever without the nut flush over there. And then he and then he does raise me, and I just am like, I can't imagine. When I made the bet, my mindset was I'm never getting raised here without him having it.
Okay.
So when he raises, I just can't.
You folded?
I did, because I just can't
Okay.
figure out what, like, if he just calls there, then I'm going to
Yep.
continue to put money in on the river, because I think a call is like he's drawing, he's trying to get there, he's got a set of sixes or something like that. Like, I'm fine with that. He has a queen and he's not going to let go right away, whatever. I mean,
Okay.
he probably should, um but when he re-raises me, I just, what bluffs does he have? That he leads into the field, and then with all that money in there chooses to raise, knowing that he's giving me a great price to call, and my hand is pretty much face up.
Unless he's overvaluing something where he thinks you're. Could he think you're on tilt because you've lost some money?
Yeah, he could. I'm down $1,600 after this hand. After this hand,
Okay.
I'm down 1,600.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a bad night. I guess I didn't consider that. But I would think if he thinks I'm on tilt, that I'm just going to chuck it in, right? Be like, I'm
Right.
frustrated, but
That you
whatever.
might
Here,
call him with. Yeah, yeah. You might
yeah,
have like 6-4 and go, screw it.
yeah,
You know,
right,
I'll take my chances.
right,
That's
right.
a good point too. Okay. Um. And I guess it's possible he might think you have a set, and if he has the nut flush, he doesn't want to see another card, because what happens if it's a pairing card, and
Right.
then. Hmm.
Or if he, like, if I had, I'll put myself in his shoes. If I'm in his shoes and I have, like, say, ace three of clubs or
Right.
five or whatever, some
Yeah.
junky club draw that I wouldn't raise pre-flop, I would just call, and then
Right.
I'm gonna check, and then I'm gonna bet when I hit the flush. I get call and a raise. I'm licking my chops. I'm like, let's go. All the money's
Right.
going
Right.
in. I'm not checking.
Sure. Sure.
So that makes a ton of sense based on what he's done up to this point.
Right. And you might have everybody else's out, right? Like one guy has 6-4 and the other guy has pocket twos or something.
Sure, sure.
And everybody needs everybody else's cards. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So you folded then.
I did, and I thought about it for quite a while. It wasn't just like, oh, this is a snap fold.
Right.
I thought, am I ever gonna see a hand? Like, how often am I? I need to. I don't need to be good here that often because I'm getting 2-1.
Yep.
So, but am I actually good often enough to the action for me to make the call? I don't think I am. I
If he's a good player, then you're probably not.
That's what I figured, right? Like it's
Yeah.
if this
Yeah.
was heads up, I think it's very different. Um, because then the action doesn't look so wild. The extra money in there makes and the extra player makes it look even stronger. When I raise and then he re-raises, it
Right.
makes his hand look that much stronger. So
Right.
because now he's got to concern himself with this guy's been calling almost anything. Is he going to call? Because he might. Like if he has a queen, he might just throw it in anyway, even though it's a ton of
Sure.
money.
Sure.
So anyway, I let it go, and the other guy folds as well, and then he flips over a 6 of hearts, and I was sick to my stomach.
Oh no.
So
So did he flop a set
no, he
or
said that
turn a set? I mean.
he said that he had the ace of clubs. I said, "Did you have the set or the ace of clubs?" And he said, "I had the
Oh.
ace of clubs." And I just couldn't believe that he was actually bluffing there because my price is so good.
Wow.
But yeah, he went for it. So maybe it was. I mean, maybe there was some. Maybe he has a read on me. I don't know, but I was really impressed that he went for it because my gut was like, okay, I'm snap calling. I have a flush, and then after sitting and thinking about it for a second, I just thought, how often is he ever going to bluff in this situation? And then on top of that, even if he's has like king high and is just going with it, and he doesn't have the nut flush, I don't know. Yeah, it's a gross spot where like he could have the non nut flush but just be going with it, and it's still
Right.
better than mine because I have a 10 high, right? So
Sure. Sure.
I don't know.
Wow. Okay. So wait. So he has ace of clubs, 6 of hearts. So
Correct.
if that's true, then he's blocking both the nut flush and the turn set.
Yeah, yeah,
So his theory would have been you probably don't have pockets. Okay, you didn't bet on the flop, so you probably don't have pocket twos or pocket fours.
right,
You probably don't have pocket sixes because he has a six,
right.
and you don't have the nut flush because he's got the ace of clubs.
And I don't have queens because I didn't bet it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean,
Right.
yeah, I guess he can kind of eliminate a lot of the strong hands, but I feel like once I raise, it's so clear that I have the flush, and how often am I really going to fold? I feel like I leveled myself out of this one, but how often do you expect him to be bluffing there? It seems like almost never. But he did. I mean, it was a wild play. I'm impressed. I never expected him to turn up a 6 of hearts.
No.
I just couldn't believe it when he did it. So good on him.
I wonder if the club was a different club. Like, say it was the seven, would he have still done the same thing?
I doubt it.
'Cause
Oh,
then you
you.
could have,
Oh, I see what you mean. The
like, is he going to always do this with the ace of clubs,
I
or
see
is he
the
only
turn
doing it
card.
when it? Yeah, but when he
Right.
manages to block the set
Right.
that you're turning, right?
Right. Huh?
Or in this case, not turning because he has one of the sixes.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
I wonder.
I mean, I still I don't know if I'm impressed by the play because I never expected him to make it, but I don't know if it's a good play, assuming that I have the flush there, to think that I'm gonna fold because I
Well,
only have to
especially
I only
someone
have to
that's
be
been
good a
losing.
third of the time. So
Yeah, and
it's like
especially somebody that's been losing, right? Like you might
yeah,
just have reached your pain threshold
yeah,
and just be like, screw it. If this is not my day, it's not my day. Here, have my money,
yep,
right?
yep,
I mean, you see people do that all the time, where
all the time.
they especially a hand like this, right? You can legitimately say, well, like this was very unlucky,
Yeah,
right? And you can convince yourself, like, okay, I did a reasonable thing, and it was just unlucky, and that was that. So I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. It's kind of a gutsy play. I don't know if I like it.
but
I don't think most people are folding a flush.
Right, I would agree, and that's why I was like, I think I have to fold, is because he's assuming I'm just throwing my money in and handing it to him, right?
Yep.
So,
yeah. Wow.
Anyway, it was a cool play, and I just kind of sat there in my chair after he showed the 6 of hearts, like, wow, it's been one heck of a day. The session actually like turned around, and I somehow walked out of there with a profit, but.
Nice.
Yeah, but it was that was the low point. Was
believe it.
Yeah, was seeing that giant pot go the other way on a bluff. So yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, well, thanks for your thoughts. It was
Sure.
It was a crazy one.
Crazy though.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Steve, shout out to you, sir. That was a good play. Okay, and then you had a hand you wanted to talk through, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Let me read my note here.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find your notes as well.
Okay, here we go. All right, I posted you in a private on the Discord communication.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
It was on the 10th.
You know what the problem is that we had so many technical difficulties on my end last time we tried to meet that it's way back here. I'll find it.
Yeah, it's on the 10th of December.
There it is. Okay, I just found it. All right.
Okay. All right, so I will read what I wrote here. Okay, so this was at Caesars Windsor.
Okay.
1-2 9-handed. Under the so in Caesars Windsor, you can straddle under the gun if you want for $5 in the 1-2 game. So the under gun straddles to 5.
Okay.
He's the effective stack with a little over $130.
Okay.
Including the straddle. Okay, I'm in hijack with King of Clubs, Queen of Diamonds.
Okay.
Okay. It checks all the way to me. I raise to 15.
So checking, you mean like it folds around to you, or
it folds around to me? Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
It folds around to me, and I raise to 15.
Okay.
Okay. Big blind calls, straddle calls.
And
so we're 3 ways.
Let's see. So the straddle is the effective with a little over 130. What about the big blind? What does he have? Do you know?
He is very deep.
Okay.
He's like 500 maybe. I'm in the middle. I've got about $200.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you ever consider going maybe like 18 or something, since you have a little extra money in there on your open?
I pretty much always do 3x.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, yeah. So I don't have a lot of experience in casinos, and usually when people let's assume there's no straddle, right? Okay. And so it's like 1-2. I usually make it $6.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think that's annoying, and I should make it $5? Just because now they got to make change for all the people that don't have ones and stuff like that. Like, does it slow down the game enough that I kind of don't want to make it $5 because that doesn't seem like it's a raise, if you know what I mean. Like, people are just gonna be like $5, like, take my money, sort of thing. $6, it might be like, it takes a little effort.
Man, I haven't played 1-2 in a long time, but when I used to play it, I think $8 was about as low as I would go, just because the goal of most people at a 1-2 game is to just they're just kind of trying to play bingo, right? They want to just see a flop and hope to hit a hand, and so they want to call you. So I would often raise 10 and even as high as 12, which I know is 6x coming out the gate, but they're so ready to call you for $5, $6 that I would try to make it a little less enticing for them, so that I'm not going 5-6 ways to a flop.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Because I usually make it 6, so occasionally I make it, plus $2 per limper.
Yeah.
But I mean, I see people at the games routinely, like, they'll open raise to 15, sometimes 20. I'm like, this is insane. Like, I'm not calling you with anything.
Right.
So, okay.
But that's kind of the reason that you'll take those giant sizings, is that you want to punish the people that their only goal is to see a flop, and so they'll pay with almost any 2 cards. You don't want to allow them to have too good of a price. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So anyway, So the 2 guys call. They're both somewhat maniacal, quite good, quite laggy, especially the person in the straddle.
Sorry, Tom. 1 second. I've got a kiddo knocking at my door here.
Yep. No problem.
So, okay, where were we?
No problem. Okay, so anyway, so I raised to 15.
Okay.
Big blind and straddle call, both somewhat maniacal, quite good, quite laggy, especially the straddle.
Okay.
And I think they perceive me as a nit.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So again, I've got king of clubs, queen of diamonds. Flop is ace of spades, king of hearts, 10 of spades.
Okay.
Okay. They both check to me.
Let's see. I mean, you've got middle pair. You've got a gut shot.
Yeah.
It as the pre-flop aggressor. I mean, this flop favors your range quite a bit. I think I'm fine with like a really small bet or a check.
Okay. I checked.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
My plan was I would have bet if I had the king of spades. I think I would have bet
because there were backdoor spades. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
But because I don't have any spade.
Yeah.
And I thought I should. I mean, they probably have a lot. I would expect they have a lot of aces, a lot more aces than I have. Although I have the good aces, but they have all the aces. I would think.
Yeah.
So I thought I would be behind at least some of the time. So I check.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And I think one of the problems with betting this is right now our SPR is 5-1. And if we bet again, we're shrinking that down to where they can give us a really tough river decision. And so I think I'm okay just pot controlling here with second pair. So, yeah, I like that.
Okay. All right. So then the turn is the 7 of diamonds.
Okay.
So brick.
Okay.
Okay. So again, checks to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet 25.
Yeah. I like that.
Okay. On the theory that they had 2 chances to bet.
Yep.
They didn't bet. I should try to kick out, random draws to various things.
Yeah, you'd hate to see like a queen show up if it checks all the way through and a queen shows up and you have 2 pair on the river and suddenly they bet pot. You're gonna feel pretty gross about it.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. So,
okay.
No, I like that a lot.
All right. So, so only the straddle calls.
Okay.
Okay. The river, 6 of spades.
Okay.
Okay. Straddle donks into me for all of his money, which is about, at this point, is about $90.
$90. So he checks the flop. He checks the turn and calls. When you say maniacal, how maniacal are we talking? Like, is he just capable of throwing it in there with absolute air?
He could have air.
Okay.
He is capable. I mean, I don't think neither one of the players, in my opinion, are bad. I would consider them both to be, like, I do see them occasionally playing the 2-5 game.
Okay.
2-5 game at Caesars doesn't run except certain times.
Okay.
And it's the biggest game in Windsor, so you could have players that are like pretty good. I would consider these players to be good players. I would say they're both better than me.
Okay.
They're certainly more capable of playing more variety of hands.
Okay.
Various situations.
Well, let's think about. In my opinion, he has no aces here unless it's like ace deuce, and I don't think he's throwing it in with ace deuce. I think he's betting any decent ace before I don't think he's check calling an ace. I think he's betting an ace.
Okay.
By the turn, wouldn't you think? I mean, if he's got let's say ace 10 is covered. His 2 pairs, I think, are betting by the turn because they want to get some money in. So he would have to have had. He could have a weak ace like a. Okay, he could check ace 7 on the flop, but I would think he would bet ace 7 on the turn. Ace 6 would be ace 6 or pocket sixes. I mean, in my opinion, he's repping the nuts or air. He doesn't really have like ace, I don't know, even like ace 9 or something, I don't think takes this line. I don't think he goes check call, check jam. Or sorry, jam, donk jam, the river. Do you think?
Right. I think they would expect, like he would expect me to have at least a reasonable ace.
Sure.
And so he might expect that I'm going to call him at least some of the time with that. So yeah, I would expect most of the time he has a flush or somehow he made a set.
Oh, it brings in the flush. I was thinking that the flush missed. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he's a flush, or somehow he made a set.
Well, I mean, let's see, like Jack 9 of spades is possible. I'm trying to think draws here. Queen
Yep.
9 of spades, where they have like the gutter plus the flush draw.
Right.
It's only a couple of combos of that, but don't love the flush does check out with the action, I suppose. If you had two random spades, even like a 4 or 5 of spades here, and it goes check through, that's fine. You're not going to bet the turn, but you will call. Now it hits and you jam. I mean, I don't think you're good very often unless this guy has a really high frequency for bluffs. How often is he throwing money in with air?
He is okay. I don't think he has he won't show up with two completely random cards.
No, but let's say like he has Jack 9 of diamonds instead of, or what was the backdoor diamonds there? Hearts. Jack 9 of hearts.
He could.
He could
do that.
I mean, if he has Jack 9 of hearts, this is the perfect card. So pot he's betting pot. So you have to be good a third of the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
approximately a third.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's pretty close. I would say most people at a live game have it in this spot. So my tendency is to say you probably need a fold, even though you only have to be good a third of the time. But if you've seen him making big bluffs and he's consistently doing it, the action is a draw, right? It's a draw that either hit or a draw that missed. So
right.
that's yours to determine. Combinations.
Okay, but does it matter? Okay, so let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
So I don't have a spade in my hand. Does that matter?
It's not irrelevant. It means that he has more combos of spades, right? You don't block any of the spade combos. Like if you have the queen of spades, then I think you almost have to call.
Okay.
That's my thought, because then you're blocking the queen 9, the like some of the relevant spade draws that had like combo draws, right, where they have the straight and the flush possible. So in that case, I think I'm calling. In this case, you don't block the spades. And if he's capable of calling you with almost anything, he was getting a really good price pre-flop because he had the caller of the big blind.
Right.
So he can have 4 or 5 of spades here, and it would make sense. Based on the action, it's close. My gut says this is one of those they always have it bets.
Okay.
Unless you feel like, man, this guy is, I've seen him throwing money out there with absolute air consistently. My gut says it's a draw, and the question is, did he hit it or not? And let me ask you this. Do you think he's calling, let's say he has Jack 9 of hearts. Do you think he's calling the turn bet of 25 with a gutter ball?
At the time, no.
Okay, so then in that case, I think he probably has it too often for you to call.
Okay, so let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
So let's supposing instead of having king queen with a spade, what if I have let's have queen of spades and a 10?
Okay.
Should I call him on the river then? It's worse than having king queen, no spade, but it has a spade, right? So it's a weaker hand, but it's still a bluff catcher that blocks stuff.
I almost prefer that hand over the king queen without the spade because, like I said, in my opinion, this is a draw one way or the other, and it's he's repping the nuts or nothing. So I would prefer to block the draws because he doesn't have ace king. He doesn't have. I don't think he has a straight. I think he's betting into you with a straight on the turn. You have a queen that blocks the straight anyway. Yeah, at that point, I think I would prefer queen 10 with the queen of spades over king queen without a spade.
Okay, that's what I thought in game.
Okay.
That's what I thought in game. I folded.
Okay. And he showed you a
and
bluff.
He showed me Jack 9.
It was
so
Jack 9.
You had that part right.
Okay.
But unsuited Jack 9, no spade.
No spade.
He didn't even have a spade.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think. Okay, so he didn't. I think his reasoning was, okay, on the turn he actually got a double gutter. So. Right,
you're
because
right.
of the 7.
Yeah, you're right.
So
okay.
I guess that's
okay.
what kept him going. I didn't really think about that in game.
Right, double gutter. Okay.
Do you think it's a good bluff though?
Yeah. Yeah.
So even without a spade.
Mm-hmm. Like okay. if you're going to call that turn bet in your mind, and I think I didn't spend enough time on this. If he's told you he thinks you're a nit, he's probably calling with the like added value or like the idea that I'm firing all scary rivers.
Okay.
Because like if let's say you're holding an ace here, and he fires that, it's a pretty similar decision really, because again he just has the nuts or he has nothing. Like your bluff catcher your pair doesn't really matter at that point. So if he perceives that you're willing to fold an ace, which I'm not saying you would or wouldn't, I don't know, but if that's his perception, then yeah, I forgot that it was a double gutter with a Jack 9. Interesting. It makes sense. Like if I miss and a scare card comes, those are the ones I'm going to fire. Like if the board pairs, the flush comes in, something like that, those are the cards I'll fire. Any blank, I'll just have to check and give up if I'm in his shoes.
Okay, so. That's interesting. Because I wasn't so surprised that he had Jack 9, but I was kind of surprised the A was unsuited, but also if it's unsuited that it didn't have a spade. I was kind of surprised but I mean maybe he's using all Jack 9s to bluff in that situation.
I think he probably is, yeah. It would make sense. If it was a gutter ball, I see in my mind I had it just a gutter ball, and then I'm not calling on the turn. But
okay.
But based on the fact that you have the double gutter and you have some higher than average fold equity, if that's his perception of you,
right?
Then yeah, I think it's a fine play on his part, especially with the action going, like knowing that he is giving you a lot of aces and you check the flop. I think he knows you're very capped, and so he thinks he can probably get a fold a fair amount of time. So
okay, interesting. But of course, that could be like you, and maybe I check the flop with 2 spades and I make a flush.
For sure, yeah. I mean,
okay, but I mean, I guess that's a risk he's taking, right?
Yeah.
He's got to be willing to take the risk. Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's fair.
That's interesting hand. Yeah, it's hard to think that he was calling there until I thought, okay, it's a double gutter. Because let's see, 25 into okay. It's reasonable because he has the fold equity in his mind. You know, if you're really sticky, he probably doesn't do it. Like if he perceives you as someone that's like calling with a 10 every time, he's probably never going for it. So interesting. Oh, that's a cool hand. I like it. Challenging. So whenever you get a donk lead like that into you, when you were the aggressor pre-flop and a big card comes in, it never feels good. Feels good.
I agree. I agree.
Can't blame you for the fold. Right on. Well, Tom, thanks, man. This was really fun, and thanks for all your thoughts. It's cool. We've been talking on Discord for I don't know how many months now, almost a year, but really cool to actually sit down and talk through a hand. And it only took me a week to figure out my technical difficulties. So, right on. Well, I know we'll continue to talk hands, but thanks for hanging out and being a part. We'll do this again.
My pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Tom. See
Have a good night.
You too.